this. We're looking into June 2019. What do people need to know about the budget for the upcoming fiscal year?
They need to know that the budget has already had first reading. They need to know that the budget is still in flux. Council members are still engaged in discussions, discovery, and study. Coming up this Tuesday, there will be second reading on the budget. And is that the final version of the budget? Absolutely not. But at least we're getting closer and honing in. I mean, there's different things they're talking about. One of them is talking about the possibility of a road fee. And if they do a road fee, they would want to have a sunset provision in there that, hey, let's see how it works for 4 years, but it would generate around $5.3 million a year. And so that's just one of the items. They're looking at ways to reduce millage, actually reduce millage. They're looking at the possibility of increasing some fees that primarily affect people who don't live in Anderson County but come in and do business in Anderson County. Various of those we've looked at and examined, and we're the lowest in the upstate. Some of them we are so low it's not funny. Council made a conscious decision during the recession that we were going to keep everything as low as we could to not stymie development, but now we can inch up a little bit and take advantage of some of the growth that's occurring and help pay for some of the growth that's occurring.
And the vehicle fee you're talking about is tied to that, reducing the millage they're talking about.
It's tied to that, and again, this is still up for discussion, but they don't want to put the complete burden on the property owners, and if they could reduce a mill, I think that would be a benefit. Some of the discussions, I think, and I don't know whether the vehicle fee will go in, but one of the things is everybody over 65 would be exempt, disabilities would be exempt, disabled veterans would be exempt, and they would put a provision looking at a small business cap so it wouldn't, if a small business had 10 trucks, you know, you don't want to kill them because the small business is the goose that lays the golden egg. As a matter of fact, small business pays for our schools. I mean, that's basically what it does. And so council doesn't want to put a burden on them. And part of that discussion has been, just take Michelin Boulevard. We know good and well right now that if we, and we know it's going to crumble because it's about 25 years old. If we'd had a bad winter last year, it would crumble. That's $6 to $7 to $8 million to replace that road. And that's a county road. That's not a state road.
And that's what's generating all this discussion is the need for the paving.
Well, we need to pave, but people...
Not just pave, but yeah.
Not just paving, but it's paving. But a lot of people say, well, you know, the state legislature just passed that bill, and they did. And that goes to fix Interstate 85. And it goes to fix safety problems throughout the state system. And if you look on Highway 252 going towards Honea Path and Belton, they're paving. If you go up Liberty Highway, they're paving. There's a whole lot.
81 South, they're paving.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of paving that is coming from that bill passed by the General Assembly. But we have 1,524 miles of road. And except for some help, God bless the legislative delegation and the Anderson County Transportation Committee, we get $1 million and sometimes more from them. But with 1,524 miles of road, those are purely county roads. We need a solid, secure, and increased funding source. And you say, well, what's it going to do? All of the roads in all of our subdivisions are crumbling. We're not talking about paving 85 with this money. We're talking about paving the road in front of your house. We're talking about cleaning up your ditches and fixing your pipes. And so nobody's going to come save us but ourselves. But again, that's under discussion. And with the exemptions, they're trying not to. Will it be revenue neutral? Absolutely not. But if you're over 65, you're on homestead exemption and they reduce your taxes a mill, you're going to save money. National studies, and everybody's got a national study to prove everything. They can also prove that people can walk on their hands and they'll live 100 years. But respectable studies, but who wants to? But respectable studies have shown that better roads reduce road maintenance, and it certainly reduces tire wear. So I think that there's something to be gained by that, and it also makes us attractive. But this is for home folks living here, again, and I can't say this enough. This is to pave the road in front of your house.
And not just paving, we're talking about that, but most of what we're looking at has been left because of lack of funds for so long. We're talking about having to replace a lot of roads, and if I'm not mistaken, Holt Hopkins said it's 1 mile is $500,000.
Yeah,
To
1 mile
dig up, and that's what we're going to do.
to completely reclaim, and some of them are getting like that. Again, if we'd had, with all of the rain we had, and if we had a real severe freezing situation, our roads would be coming out of the ground, bona fide coming out of the ground. And so I think council thinks now it's the time to address that issue. Again, that's up for debate, that's for discussion. One interesting thing about that is that that has to go exclusively for roads. And one of the council members said that they would want a completely separate audit on that, which I think is a wonderful idea, because I know some places where they didn't, and they started mingling some of those road funds and doing some of that other stuff. And
the penny education tax is a good example in South
yeah,
Carolina.
but you can't do that. If you tell people you're going to put it on roads and bridges and the drainage that's attended to that, then that's what you have to do. So that's being discussed.
And they're already in the process of getting the state and federal money to do those roads, and the county's got a list of priority roads they're working on now.
Absolutely.
Including, I still think it's very interesting, the innovative paving where the big vehicle comes in and grinds it up and repaves it all at once.
And we're doing that in association with Greenville County.
Right.
And it's going to be, I think if we sold tickets, we could raise money to actually pay for the road. Because I know I'm anxious to see it.
Yeah, I am too.
Because as we talked earlier, they can do it out west, Arizona. I mean, you're going straight shot 100 miles, it works. Here, it's few and far between.
Speaking of roads, roads have an impact on economic development. Let's talk a little bit about that. I know we've got, we just had announced a new aerospace company in Piedmont.
Yes.
And they're bringing jobs, and Arthrex the building's looking better and better every day, and
They were
they're
out
eventually going to have
planting
2,000.
2,000 employees that were out planting trees and sod yesterday and watering heavily.
And that's more cars on the road. You got more
That is
people working
absolutely
and
more cars on the road. Right now, Anderson County probably has around 210,000 cars on the road. But this also includes, other things. Right now, if you are on one of those little scooters, you're not paying anything. But you're enjoying the use of the roads. So, they'll get to participate too. And a lot of people who aren't currently participating in preserving and upgrading Anderson County will get a shot to help out.
It's a shame we can't tax the big 18-wheelers coming through our little roads, tearing them up.
The federal people already have that well in hand.
Well, what else economically? Any other economic news coming you can talk about?
We have several good projects that we're working with, some existing and some new ones, and we're in competition for some really nice ones. I'm not saying that we've gotten them yet, but I mean, the Ortec project we did in Pendleton, they just bought 90 more acres. They're going gangbusters. They're going to expand. They pay a tremendous amount of money, salaries. And some local companies that have been born and raised here, we're happy to help them. And we're working with a couple of those because of all the industry that we have in Anderson County, and all of those in the upstate. They're supplying people like crazy, and they're expanding. So everything's going real good for that. So we're real happy about that.
People who have been here a long time may forget. Let's remind people of some of the attractions to industry to this area and why people want to come here.
Well, I just think one of the things, and people may think it's stupid, but Anderson County, as I've stated before, has always had a long industrial heritage. With all of the cotton mills, you think of the number of cotton mills in Anderson County and in every town and in around the city of Anderson. Our people were doing industrial work a long, long time ago, and I think that is carried over. So people tell us, and people say all kinds of things, but they say, man, people in Anderson County work, and we appreciate that, and they like to show up for work, and the work ethic here is good.
From the work ethic, we also have infrastructures in place. One of the things I don't think we've ever talked about is, we have an electron microscope which is available to industries, and a lot of them really need that kind of testing.
Yes, they do, and it's at the Clemson Research Park. And I mean, a lot of people don't even know what's there, but there are not a lot of those laying around the country. But we're also located conveniently on Interstate 85. We also have Lake Hartwell. I mean, I was looking at an ad for Lake Oconee in Georgia. It was in a Garden and Gun magazine, okay? And they were bragging about how close they were to Atlanta, and they had 545 miles of shoreline. And I'm going, man, we've got that beat about 5 times. In addition to Lake Hartwell, we've got Broadway Lake and part of Lake Secession's in Anderson County, and we've got the Saluda River, which leads me to the Saluda River Rally, which will be Saturday. As of right now, we have 152 people signed up. We may break 200 or 300 people. That's grown every year. It's the 10th anniversary. So we're excited about that. We're excited about that, and we think that has a lot to do with the purchases and acquisitions going on in Piedmont, Pelzer area that are directly tied to the river. I expect, and I hope to see, and I hope I haven't mentioned this before, but the Swamp Rabbit Trail really saved and revitalized Travelers Rest. And I think the Saluda River Blue Trail is going to have the same kind of effect on Piedmont and Pelzer. And I know some very large developers are already investing in downtown Piedmont. And from what I understand from talking to them, the lofts and apartments they have already spoken for. They're just fixing the building up. So we're excited about that. Just a lot.
Of course, Green Pond has become a go-to place for national fishing tournaments.
Well, Green Pond is the signature place for bass fishing in the Southeast, and I will say we're always in the top 10 nationally. And right now, so people know that tournament season's over. There'll be some small local tournaments throughout the summer, but the mega tournaments are over. It won't really kick back up until September and October.
And that's because the lakes are full of people having recreation, enjoying
Lakes
the summer.
are full, and so there won't be any bass, well, other than our homegrown folks out there, but there won't be any large-scale tournaments going on out there this summer.
With the bathrooms finished out there?
The bathrooms completed. I'm hoping that we can begin working on our amphitheater, which is an in-house project that we're going to do ourselves, and we're going to do it in the winter when we can't do road work. So we're not going to take away from fixing up roads and drainage and things like that, but in the wintertime, that's when you can do something like that. We are getting ready for so many different things that we have going on right now. I can't even think of them. We're working with Pendleton again. The county has to provide sewer for the Pendleton area, all that Townville area up there. So we had a meeting this week with City of Clemson, Pendleton, and us, and maybe you can get Clemson University informed to close some of the wastewater treatment plants on Lake Hartwell and put in a new, super refined, state-of-the-art to make sure there's absolutely no pollution in Lake Hartwell. So that's just getting started, but that's very exciting. In the environmental world, that's very exciting.
And those getting sewer at exits 11 and 14 is really crucial to our continued.
Yeah, well, again, we would like to have development along the interstate, and we'd like to keep a lot of Anderson County pristine and nice, because we've always been a mix. I've mentioned how we're always heavy industrial, but we've always been heavily agricultural too. And I think it's good that we have both of those going, especially with agriculture, people finally figuring out, hey, I got to eat. And Clemson University, I don't care what they say, their renewed focus on agriculture, which we're very happy to see, and hopefully we're going to be a part of. You mentioned Arthrex earlier. They have 58 people employed now. They're training across the road in the TriCounty Tech facility. And we also, they have about 40 apprenticeships at Clemson, and they're actually looking to possibly start a new discipline just because Arthrex is there that blends engineering and healthcare. So we're very, very eager and excited about that. We finally completed the sewer line to them last Friday afternoon, and we got that done. And there's so much stuff going on that I can't even remember everything that we have going on right now. Again, the Court Square project is moving along, still hoping to break ground before January.
Will there be an announcement on that, on like some pictures and kind of stuff?
I don't know. Every time I say, yeah, it gets kicked back 2 weeks. But a couple more things that I will mention today, and today happens to be May the 30th, if I remember correctly, Thursday. Tonight, Ronnie Booth makes his swan song as president of TriCounty Tech tonight from 6 to 8 o'clock. And a man who's had a huge impact on Anderson County, and the upstate as a whole is going to be stepping down. But I'm proud to say he's lived in Anderson County. He's going to continue to live in Anderson County and continue to contribute, but he really has left a lasting legacy. I don't think that legacy is complete, but that's sad to see him go.
People like that are important to continuing economic development and everything else. We don't think about guys like that having a role.
Look, when we're sitting there talking to an industry, somebody from TriCounty Tech is with us because they want to know who's going to train them. I mentioned earlier, that building that TriCounty Tech has across the road from Arthrex is now training those workers at Arthrex. How long do you think it takes to train 2,000 people? A good while, because like we've always said, when we announce an industry, we usually have an agreement. You're going to create X amount of jobs and spend this much money. But just because we announce it that day, that doesn't mean 100 people go to work the next day. It's a process. So a lot of the things that we've already announced, those people are just now, really being able to go to work. So we've got that going on.
We always talk about quality of living. I know council's is in the process of reviewing all the parks and seeing what can be done and which ones need to be upgraded or maybe shifted over to the community or whatever. Is there any update on that at all?
Yeah, we're still in the process of that. I'm hoping that we can begin our projects out for bids to upgrade the parking lot and begin doing some work at Kid Venture. It may be a little closer to the fall, but I'm excited about that. We did some Americans with Disabilities Act work down at Wellington Park last week. We were doing that, and we're looking at several other parks to try to make them ADA accessible. So,
and then the next piece of that puzzle maybe is entertainment in the Civic Center. I know we got Larry the Cable Guy coming.
Well, you got Larry the Cable.
We got Labor Day with Solar.
Well, we got Larry the Cable Guy coming. Then you've got Crowder, who is a very big Christian act, and those tickets are selling. Then you've got Travis Tritt coming, and then there's several more acts that are in the making. So you're about to get a steady stream of entertainment at the Civic Center. So you don't have to go to Greenville.
Council's giving more intention to it, though, right?
Well, council says, hey, we want to cut the deficit. No Civic Center in America makes money. If they do, they're telling a whopper. But they don't want it. They want it to be a place for entertainment for people in Anderson, so they can come here and see things close to home. And they also want to narrow the deficit as much as possible. And the way to do that is to have people here. There's something going on at the Civic Center every day, but a lot of it is not generating money. And then people say, well, the Civic Center's not generating money. Well, you don't charge people for walking on the trails. You don't charge them for going to the duck pond. You don't charge them for playing on Kid Venture. You don't play them for going out there just to lay around and read a book.
Out there.
And again, that's our Central Park. I will say this, that a company that had the square between Martin Luther King Boulevard and Civic Center Boulevard, and I'm telling you, it's swampy, but it's contiguous completely to the Civic Center. They donated that to the county, so we now have that corner. So our Civic Center grounds has expanded a little bit. And now that property one day can become very valuable, but right now, you'll be able to walk in those woods and take advantage of that because the county owns it, which means you own it.
And I'm surprised how many people you see out there playing Frisbee golf. That seems to have really taken off.
People, when that started, they said, well, nobody does that. Well, they do that. A lot of them do that.
And drive from all over to do that.
And drive all over to do that. And a lot of them go up to Dolly Cooper Park and play Frisbee golf. A whole lot of them go up there to do that.
What about the plan to connect, the track all the way down the connector to the Civic Center? Where are we on that?
That's an ANATS project, and I think they're still acquiring right away. That's going to be a wonderful thing when that happens, when you'll be able to go from 81 all the way to the Civic Center in one continuous trail. I think that's going to be awesome. And that's going to tie in with the other projects that the city has going on. Another thing, the last thing I need to mention is, there's going to be another new hotel in Powdersville. There's going to be another new hotel at Clemson Boulevard in 85. Maybe two. And the city is still working with that hotel down there. So something's going on, and some people want to be in Anderson County. I was talking to a fellow the other day. Is that Arthrex rents religiously 40 rooms at the Hilton Garden Inn. Just constant. People coming in and out. But I think that's it. Of course, I've got to run.
Okay. No, wait, one more thing. I got one more thing. Actually, I was looking at one more question.
Okay.
My screen went dark. No, I can just remember it. All right. Once the budget's passed,
Yes.
summer starts. What's the next big challenge that council's going to face once they get through the budget time and get started into summer and beginning into fall?
Economic development, land use in the Powdersville area, continuing to work with towns in Anderson County, completing our sewer projects, working on our parks. There's never a lack of anything to do here, and there's so much to be done and so much that we need to be doing. And looking at our land use regulations, and in some areas we're going to be tightening them up. We've got a world-renowned expert on land use regulations coming to the Civic Center. We'll update you on that later, and we'll hopefully have that on our television channel too. But there's just a lot of things going on.